when I was 22. I started renting the downstairs apartment in my parents' house, just to save money, but also a desperate need for a little more privacy. Even though my parents would go away a decent amount, it still just felt like I had no privacy, and couldn't even have friends or girls over in peace. The downstairs apartment is separated by a lockable door in the stairway. It was an open layout down there, with the mini kitchen being a part of the living room area. There was then my bedroom, my sanctuary, bathroom, and laundry room, then the hall, and a side entrance through the living room. Constant vulnerability. This happened on a weekend that my parents were away. A wave of relief washed over me then, finally. I could be as loud as I wanted. I had my friends, Anthony and Jay, over just to shoot the breeze and have a couple of drinks on the couch, watching the hockey game. A normal night. Since my parents weren't home, we were blasting music as we chilled, carefree. I wouldn't say I got drunk, but I definitely got a buzz going by the end of the game. A comfortable haze. I would keep the door between my apartment and the upstairs unlocked when my parents were gone. A small act of rebellion, since I didn't have to worry about them randomly coming down. I kept the drinks in the fridge upstairs since it was bigger and quite literally just worked better. Simple convenience. Since my friends drove and had been drinking, both of them decided to crash at my place for the night. The couch down there was massive. It could easily sleep 3 people if they laid down the correct way. A welcome buffer. So, after a pretty long night of drinking, I said goodnight, a little tipsy, and went to my room, my safe space, to go to sleep. I found myself waking up, abruptly, in my bed, a few hours later. It was still the middle of the night, or early morning hours. A disoriented confusion. I immediately heard what most likely woke me up. A chill snaked down my spine. I heard footsteps from upstairs. Someone was walking around up there. It was a pretty natural assumption that it was Anthony or Jay, maybe needing water, going upstairs to check my parents' fridge for cold water or something. Though, I tried to ignore it. I closed my eyes again, willing myself back to sleep, only to hear something else just a couple of minutes later. A prickle of unease. The sound of my bedroom doorknob. Someone tried twisting it, but it was locked. Thank God it was locked. I always lock my bedroom door. It's just a force of habit. A small comfort now feeling enormous. I wondered why either of them would be trying to come in, but I was tired, and figured, foolishly, if I just didn't say anything and pretended to be asleep, they'd go back to sleep themselves. Maybe it sounds weird, a shiver of wrongness, but I just didn't have the energy to be bothered at all. And it worked. The twisting stopped. I fell asleep shortly after that, a troubled sleep. When I woke up the next morning, Anthony was already gone. A slight relief, but Jay was still asleep on the couch, heavy oblivious. When he heard me open the fridge door, he slowly started moving around and rubbing his eyes. Groggily, I asked him a hesitant question, if he was trying to come into my room last night, and he said no. Confused. He didn't think so, but that he didn't remember because he got pretty drunk. He and I went to a nearby deli in need for normalcy to get some bacon, egg and cheeses and coffee. And then we ate them in my backyard. The sun felt good. He left not long after that, and I pretty much went about my day, a forced sense of routine, as usual. I didn't ask Anthony if he tried coming into my room, because honestly, a sliver of doubt remained, but I didn't want to dwell on it. It really wasn't a huge deal. I think I spent most of that Saturday out of the house. I need to be away, doing stuff with other friends. I got back home pretty late at night, a sense of unease creeping back, but not really intoxicated, because that day was more of a marathon, and by then, I'd sobered up. I was beat though, utterly drained, so I had a snack, washed up, and went straight to bed, hoping for oblivion. When I say went to bed, I actually mean I crawled into bed. Every shadow seemed to lengthen, and watched like an hour of something on TV. A desperate distraction. After I turned off the TV, the silence felt heavy right away. I heard it. My blood ran cold. Creaks and thumps from above, almost sounding like footsteps. Not settling noises. Similar to the night before, but heavier, more deliberate, directly overhead, in the kitchen upstairs. My breath hitched. I had to really focus and listen, straining my ears, but the sound stopped. A tense silence. I felt my heart start beating a bit faster. A cold dread washed over me. I felt a slight nervous feeling a knot of pure fear in my gut for a few minutes as I was sitting up, frozen, and waiting to hear something else. Anything. Eventually, reluctantly, I laid back down, trying to rationalize, and relaxed, a forced calmness, realizing it was most likely just some normal house settling noises. My mind grasping for logic, and my paranoid thoughts, fueled by the night before, were making them out to be louder than they were. A desperate attempt at comfort. I couldn't have been more wrong. A sickening certainty settled in. I should have trusted that initial feeling, that icy dread, when I heard the doorknob to my bedroom door move again. I sprang up, adrenaline coursing through me. So quickly that you'd think I was about to get hit by a bus. Pure panic. The doorknob only moved for a couple of seconds, a terrifying familiarity like it did the night before. But tonight, there was a light knock at the door, a deliberate intrusion, followed by the doorknob. I didn't say a word. My throat was tight with fear. I reached for my phone, my only lifeline, which was on the bed, and started texting my family, a silent plea, along with Anthony and Jay. A desperate hope. I knew the chances of it being one of my friends were next to zero, but deep down, a fragile wish. I was hoping one of them would, by some chance, respond back saying, "Yes, it's me." My parents didn't answer the phone, a wave of despair. They must have been asleep. They were not supposed to be back until Monday. A terrifying isolation. There was no way in hell. I was about to say, "Who's there?" My voice would betray my terror. I quietly got out of my bed, every movement slow and deliberate, and hid behind the corner dresser, a flimsy shield, grabbing a blunt object, my hand trembling, with the scared chance, the horrifying certainty, that whoever was out there would kick the door down and rush the bed. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'm not kidding. I think 10 minutes went by, an eternity of silence and fear, and I didn't move from the spot. But there wasn't another set of knocks, just a chilling stillness. I called 911. Finally, my voice a shaky whisper, and whispered as quietly as I could, while still being loud enough to hear. Each word a monumental effort. I waited on the line with the 911 operator, her calm voice a distant comfort, until the police arrived. Since I didn't feel safe, utterly vulnerable, exiting the room, I asked the operator, my voice barely audible, if she could tell the police to meet me at my bedroom window. A desperate plan. Once an officer was outside my window, a beacon of hope in the darkness, they gave it a tap, a soft reassurance, and I went to open it. My hand shaking violently. Thank God. I was on the first floor. I handed him the key, my hand brushing his, a moment of human contact to the side door, and moments later, the sound that made my blood run cold. I heard the entrance to my apartment open. A violation. It was only then that I left my bedroom, stepping into the unknown, and was greeted by 2 officers. Their presence a shield against the terror. I turned on all the lights, flooding the small space. My apartment was small, with not many places to hide, every corner a potential threat, so the search down there was quick. They moved with purpose. Then we went up, the creaking stairs a soundtrack to my fear, to the main floor of the house, and searched it. Every room a potential hiding place, nothing. A fleeting moment of relief. And then, the dread returned. We got upstairs. I told the officers, my voice still trembling, what each room was, before they'd enter it. My parents' sanctuary now felt tainted. It was when they entered my parents' room, the air thick with unspoken horror, that I heard a commotion, a sudden shout, about 30 seconds later. My breath caught in my throat. I was outside, in the hallway, a silent witness, when I heard it. A muffled struggle. I took one peek, a hesitant glance into the room, and saw 2 officers, their faces grim, yelling at someone, a dark shape, under my parents' bed. A wave of nausea. I felt a knot, a hard, cold lump in my stomach. I was told, firmly, to wait downstairs, away from the horror. It was minutes later, each one an eternity, that they were walking down, a tall, dirty, scary-looking man. His eyes vacant, in a sweatshirt and shorts. Dragging him, they asked me. Their voices serious, if I knew this man. And my voice cracked as I said, "Of course not." Utterly alien. The look of hate, pure unadulterated malice, that man gave me, as he passed, was haunting. It burrowed into my soul. He looked like something inhuman. He could have been homeless, crazy, or both. A terrifying enigma. Once he was out of the house, the air felt lighter. I felt 1,000,000 times better. A fragile sense of safety. The police told me Their faces grave that if I or my parents wanted to follow up with this, to call the precinct, the legal aftermath of terror. After they left, the silence of the house felt different now, tainted. The first thing I did, my hand still shaking, was text every family and friends group thread. I had a desperate need to connect. Being that it was so late, the digital world a cold comfort, only a few people responded. I called my parents, my voice trembling as I spoke, first thing in the morning, to explain what happened. Their shock echoed my own. They were, of course, in awe, as anyone would be. But because the man was homeless, a convenient dismissal, and nothing was apparently stolen, a chilling detail, my parents didn't pursue any legal action, a lingering injustice. I feel like it's possible, a seed of doubt. I left the front door unlocked. That night Jay and Anthony came over, a casual oversight with terrifying consequences, and he simply walked right in, a silent predator, when we were blasting music. Or, a scary thought, a chilling realization, he could have been in the house, lurking, for much longer than that, and we just never noticed. The true depth of the violation